Well, today is yam planting day. Come join me. Hi, I'm Elise. I'm in Zone 9B and I'm glad that you stopped by. If you get a chance, check out some of my previous videos on potatoes, sweet potatoes, and yams. I did one sharing a few of the basics and some comparisons and differences in those three tubers. And at that time, I showed you a nice size yam, a true yam in the Scoriaceae family. You know, sweet potatoes are not yams. That's a name that folks in North America decided to call a sweet potato a yam. There are true yams. In fact, there's 700 to 800 varieties of true yams in the Scoriaceae family. Some are edible, some are not. Now, I got this yam from the grocery store. I've already cut it in half because half of it is inside to go ahead and cook up. And you cook them up any way that you would a regular potato. And look, it's already got a little sprout coming on it. So I'm kind of new to yams. This is my second year, but I have been learning. I've did lots of research online, and of course the growing experience has helped me also. Of all those yams, you need to be careful. Some are edible and some are not. Some are toxic and will not agree with you. This is, of course, an edible one I got at my grocery store. The first thing I want to do is cut it up into manageable pieces. The size that you cut it up is up to you. You can harvest yams in as little as 6 months, or you can wait a year or two. They will be the size of a tennis ball up to over 100 pounds, just depending upon how long you let the yams stay underneath the ground and grow. Most of the yams, something like 93%, are grown in Africa. And what they do is they wait until their rainy season and then they chop up the yams and plant them, because yams do like rain. They make a vine. The vine isn't real aggressive, it's lightweight, and it doesn't have lots of tendrils on it. So it can just sprawl across the ground. Now I've already alcoholed my scissors and my knife and my table when I first got started. And you can see where I've already did some cutting to separate it. I'm going to go ahead now and cut this up into the chunk sizes that I want to plant. I'm going to stay away from that. They are a little hard. Hold your fingers up like that. Now we're going to cut this one up even more. Again, it is up to you the size of your chunks that you want. Hold your fingers up. Now I can cut those up even more. Again, it's up to you. I'm going to go in here and do just a little bit more. This is about the size that I cut mine up last year when I planted, and I did have some good success. All right. This one might be a little too small, but I'm going to try it anyway. Most yams have a very, very tough skin. Now, you can let these sit and cure a day or two, or you can go ahead and plant them. When I planted mine before, I did not let them cure. I had no problem. They all came up. Well, let me put a little but on that. They came up, the ones that were allowed to be planted. The ones I put in the ground out in my backyard, some animal decided they really liked them. So I would come out every day and that yam piece would be dug up and have little bites on it. And I kept burying it deeper and burying it deeper. And finally they took it off with them. Okay. So now it is recommended that you put some type of antifungal on these pieces. Ash, a commercial antifungal, whatever you have. I don't have ash or commercial antifungal. I'm going to use what I have in my garden, which is an aloe vera. Just going to snip off a leaf. Now this is completely optional, and there are many, many ways to plant yams. Everybody plants them a little different, whatever works for you. First thing I'm going to do is take off the spines with a pair of scissors. You can do this with a knife. You do not have to do this. It just makes handling the piece of aloe a little easier. You know, aloe has just fantastically reported medicinal properties. It's really, really good for us. You can also use aloe as a root hormone, and I have done that for a long time. Now I'm just going to lay it down on my board because I'm going to fillet it. And just take your knife and go through it. Now this knife is a little big, it's a little overkill, but I'll still get some pieces. There we go. And you can see all that nice, good slime. So now I'm just going to rub this all over that little piece. You might want to wear your gloves. The ones I did last year did fine with the aloe. So I will share this with you. When I was first researching, it was suggested that you can plant the vines underneath a tree and let the vine grow up into the tree, which is fine, and yes, it will do it. But then the problem I had was this year when I decided to dig one of the yams up, I couldn't get to it, not easily. Because what happens after it sits 6 months, 8 months, a year, those tree roots are still growing, the roots from the yam are still growing, and it is hard to separate that yam from the tree roots. And I didn't want to hurt my tree. And it is suggested that you try not to cut up the yam itself, to take it out whole. So I'm not going to put them underneath a tree anymore. You can put them in containers, you can put them in the ground. They will get a very aggressive vine if they're happy, but that vine dies completely back. So if you go through even a mild winter, like we normally have here in Zone 9B, that vine is gone. So if you put it in the ground, make sure you put a label so you remember where you planted your yams, or make sure you label your pot. Now, I've got all these coated. All I need now is a pot. And you want to use nice, well-draining soil, or go ahead and put them in the ground. I'm going to put them in a pot, and I'm going to put 2 of these pieces in one pot. I am not worried about what direction I put it in. That didn't seem to be an issue. The stems are going to grow up, and the roots are going to grow down. So I'm putting 2 in. Now I'm not going to let mine stay in here for years and get 10, 20, 30 or more pounds. So I'm comfortable with putting 2 pieces. I'll come back and I will backfill this all the way up to the top of the pot. This is a 2-gallon pot. Just some all-purpose, nice, well-draining soil. It's a little moist. We got a little rain last night, which was good. And then I'll go ahead and plant some outside and in the ground, and some more in the pot. So that's up to you, completely up to you. Now I'm going to move this because I really want to look at this yam that's been growing in this pot. In fact, I didn't label it, so that's why I'm saying make sure you label it. I thought it was just a pot of soil, or a pot maybe that I had a rhizome in. And then I came out one day and there was this little bitty sprout, and I knew right away. The leaves do look a little different. And again, there are just hundreds of varieties of yams. Make sure you know which one you're getting. And here is a little piece, and I'm going to take this out first. Oops. Well, so I can save it, but I know where it is. Now, I have already loosened this dirt because I wasn't sure what would be in here. Okay, got some roots. Ah, wow. How neat. Look at all those roots. And I've got this perfect little egg-shaped tuber. And I wasn't even sure, sorry, hit the camera. I wasn't even sure how it grew. So now I know it comes down with the stem. The roots come down at the bottom, the stem, the top of the tuber. And you can tell a little, this is the original piece here. It's kind of oblong and misshapen and got corners on it, where the tuber that grew down underneath is nice and round and perfect. Isn't that pretty? Fantastic root system. I will put this in the pot. Put it back into that pot. I'll put it in the shade because I have stressed it out. Should the vine die back from being disturbed, I'm still going to keep it because hopefully this tuber will go ahead and continue growing. Now, I wasn't sure if we would get one tuber or two or three like you do on potatoes and sweet potatoes. But it produced one really perfect egg-shaped tuber. And this was, I want to say 6 months, maybe 7 months old. So isn't that neat? Wow. Okay. I'm going to plant that back. Finish planting my little chunks that I have already wiped off. I'll finish cutting this section up and get some fresh aloe and go ahead and coat that too. Aloe worked extremely well for me. I never had a problem. It didn't deter the animals from eating it, but that was my fault for not burying the piece of tuber deep enough. So, how easy is that? Give it enough room for your vine to sprawl. If you're going to leave it for a year or two, put it in a place where you remember it, that it's there, and you won't dig down on top of it for other things. Wow, how easy, and I really have enjoyed digging that one little tuber up to see what the growth pattern is. I always like to see what's going on underneath the dirt. That helps me, I think, grow the plant itself much better. All right, I'm going to go and get busy. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll talk to you later. Have a fantastic day.